Welcome to Level Up Conversations, where we take conversations to the next level. If you just tuned in, we've recapped the Microsoft E3 press conference, and we've recapped the the EA E3. There's so many E's. The EA E3 press conference. Now we're on to the Ubisoft one.
Ubisoft.
And today I have Christian joining us. Christian, what are you playing right now?
Actually, we were talking about this a little earlier. I've been playing Mothership, a great arcade-style game. Me and one of my roommates have been playing that. Great, just time waster. Amazing, super simple game, similar to Bomberman. I think the best comparison I've heard for that game. Like a Bomberman meets Digger.
And I haven't even played it,
like,
and I already knew that.
Yeah, and it's awesome. It's just a great, super simple game. Other than that, I've been really getting back into a lot of my PS3 games that I've just never really finished, because with the PS4 and all the new titles that have been announced, I'm absolutely getting one very soon, and I'm sad that I still haven't gotten one.
That Destiny bundle. We'll talk about that later in the
yeah.
PlayStation conference.
Pretty much. But I'm getting back and just sort of finishing everything. Like, I'm finishing all the fighter games I never
It's summer,
completed.
so this is the time of year to do it. Nothing good comes out in summer. Ubisoft started with Just Dance 2015. I thought it was pretty cool because they showed how you can play it from your phone as the controller.
Not just your phone, your anything.
Your anything, yeah. That was interesting. I know someone who has a girlfriend that really likes the dancing games, and she'll be able to play them even without getting a next-gen console, which sucks because that was his excuse to get a next-gen console. So we'll see him in a couple of years.
Still get it.
Then they showed on to what everyone wants to see more of, which was Tom Clancy's The Division. We got a really big gameplay footage of it, which was awesome. Oh, by the way, I started E3 with kind of positioning it where I thought it was. I feel like Ubisoft won. I feel like Ubisoft won E3, and we'll talk about that in a little bit later.
Yeah.
The Division looks amazing. I love the way the UI. Oh, they showed the map. Do you remember that? He opens up the map, and it's a hologram on the ground that he's looking through. I was like, oh, that was so cool. Like, I was sitting there, and I was like, what was that? Like, I was like a little kid again. The way the UI pops up around your gun, it's so immersive. It's so cool. It really is.
Yeah. The trailer was beautiful. I thought it was a little emotional right off the bat. If that game has that level of story, I'm already sold. Like, I'm already sold to begin with just from that trailer. But if they continue that level of intensity with story and their campaign, and then continue that level of, I would say, just general immersiveness, is I think the best thing that will pull you in to keep playing online. If they continue that and continue the intensity, I'll play that game.
Yeah,
for years.
I agree.
For years and years and years.
Next up, they talked more about the Crew. We have a lot of racing games coming out soon that we're kind of getting them all merged together. So we have the Crew, we have the Drive Club, there's the new Forza, the new Gran Turismo came out right around the time the PS4 launched. Like, then Criterion was talking about all these cars things. Like, there's a lot of racing games coming out. It's going to be interesting to see who wins that, or if no one wins, because they're all.
I just honestly think no one will win it, because they all sort of have the same formula. You create a group of friends, open world. It's your crew, it's your gang, it's your whatever, it's your gaggle of friends, it's your murder, it's your pod, whatever. This is your group you go play with, and then with that group, you'll do variations of what each of the other games has. You'll race each other, you'll chase each other, you'll smash each other. It's just the same thing that's been done with racing games for a really long time. I still think the best racing game that's come out in the past few years is Burnout.
I was gonna say Rainbow Six Best. Burnout was good.
Different styles though. Yeah. Very different styles.
Close though. Like, they're both arcade racers. They don't try and be racing simulators in any way, shape, or form. I love Need for Speed Most Wanted. Like, I can't say that more. The one that came out on the was that original Xbox? No, that was 360, wasn't it? Damn,
360 probably had it because it was on PS3.
Yeah. It was 360. Yeah. Xbox 360. Like,
it might have been an all console.
I played through that game like
Need for Speed is notoriously times. They did all consoles, and not just that, like any console. Anything, like, they could get like
it comes out on DS and
like even like 10 years past.
We both went to there's such a horror for everything. It'll come out on the Nintendo handheld.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyways, so that was interesting. After that, they showed a lot of Assassin's Creed. Now, this was interesting because we saw it earlier in Microsoft press conference. It kind of got reintroduced. So how did you feel about Assassin's Creed? Are you a big Assassin's Creed player?
I'm a huge Assassin's Creed
fan. I'll let you talk about this then.
One of my favorite series of all time. Honestly, the side missions, and I know a lot of people weren't hot on the first one, it was definitely in its infancy for what it became. The last ones that they had with 3 and the puzzles and all the extra things sold me. It was a few years before they really, I think, got the actual formula right. But once they got into the sort of historical images mixed with puzzles, mixed with like cool sort of fictional, non-fictional stuff blending together, that got me. And that was one of my big favorite things of the puzzles, like those side missions like you mentioned. But like, those were the things that made that game amazing to me, and no matter how long it took me to beat them, I always beat those. The things where you gotta go like stop the thief or get this or get that or find all the feathers, those are meaningless. Those are things that I think gamers have started to shy away from. It's where you get those extra little pieces of the story. It's the Batman going to the alley and kneeling down. It's the extra little bit of Ellie's last look before you decide to do whatever. I'm not gonna spoil anything. So you decide to do anything in The Last of Us or whatever. It's those little details that completely change how we get into the game or how we get pulled of it. And I think Assassin's Creed has started doing more and more of that. Then they've changed that a little bit. They did just more puzzly type things with some of the later ones. And
well, how'd you feel about Unity as a whole? They showed the multiplayer mission. They showed a lot of different characters playing different roles. Like one guy kind of looked more like a heavy, where another guy kind of looked like more of a bruiser, and then another guy kind of looked more of like pure stealth, and then someone that looked like more range. Do you feel like these are going to be like? Of course, there's the drop in, drop out multiplayer, but do you feel like your assassin as a whole, you can specialize in one of these categories, or is this just a multiplayer only character that you're bringing over? And how do you feel about the cooperative multiplayer or cooperative single player?
I love the idea of it. The ideal of it and idea of it are fantastic. The execution's really hard. Think about how many times you would love to play with your best friend online, and you can't. One of the issues for me, too, is some of my best friends are not in this time zone, and they're the people I would play that game with. They're the people who would play that game. It's tricky to find time to be in that game and do co-op and do the single player, do all those things at once, but I think it's a great idea. I think if you can find people that you can reliably play with, then you'd be okay. I love the idea of being able to create a class. I think you can definitely sort of blend your in-game with the multiplayer. I hope that's something that you'll see a little bit of, where it sort of brings it together. Like what your style is in the game becomes your style online, and that sort of gets you a quasi-class. I wouldn't want to like break it down like other games or shooters or like Battlefield or anything breaks it down specifically, but it'd be really cool if like, okay, you carry a heavy weapon, this gives you just one tiny little thing that the other assassins you meet up with online will not have. Like you won't have 4 tanks fighting against like the only stealth mission in the game or something like that.
It's interesting because, you know, Assassin's Creed's always been about you have multiple options, how do you choose to do it? You are an assassin, so you want to do it the stealthy way, but really it's completely up to you. They showed the way where he snuck up behind the person. Behind the person, and you know, you were expecting this generic just kind of jump off the top balcony, land on him. When instead it was more of a, okay, I'm here, he's right there, kind of ran alongside, jumped up on this, jumped over here, hit him, spin him around, and killed him. Like that was cool. Like it was a different type of cutscene that we don't usually see from Assassin's Creed. So I feel like a lot of people are really skeptical about the multiplayer, but the game as a whole looks solid. Assassin's Creed 4 kind of revolutionized that franchise. It brought it back. It was very refreshing compared to what we're used to. So I'm excited to see what happens next. They had one little thing, which is the Valiant Hearts, The Great War. It's actually out now. It was a pretty cool little game that they announced. It's definitely one thing that's going to tug on your emotions. It's going to be quick, probably like 6 to 8 hours gameplay max. Nice little indie game that they have.
It's cool because I think the style is so cutesy and simple, yet being very, very beautiful. I love the style in the game, and I think it's almost reflects you of the contrast that war is so dark, and it's tough, I think, for us, like even people now as a generation, it's tough for people to really grasp how horrible that was.
Yeah, because we're so far from it.
Exactly. That's almost a let's say it's over 100 years basically now. We're almost on the 100-year mark for that, or just past it for most of it. And I mean, like, that's something they will, I'm sure, they will definitely make you try to cry in that. But I think the style really makes you reflect on the contrast of how horrible it is.
And it's made by
and then going from it.
Ubi Art, isn't it? The same people that made like Rayman and stuff like that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so. Child of Light, that was another big one.
Yep.
Before we talk about the biggest announcement, in my opinion, at least in E3, there's a couple things that were absent from the Ubisoft conference. Prince of Persia, Beyond Good and Evil, and not much of Far Cry 4. Like, we had a little bit of tease of it, but that comes in later.
Yep. That looks great, though.
It does.
Far Cry
and we'll talk about it in the PlayStation conference.
True. Alright.
Rainbow Six Siege. Stole...
Absolute favorite.
Absolute favorite.
Yep.
Like, no one saw this coming. This is left field. This was amazing. There was a lot of talk of, oh, are we going to see more of Rainbow Six Patriots? No, that's done. They moved on. Yep. This is it. Oh my god. That ended, and it was like, it ended, and I just kind of sat there for like a full, like, 2 minutes, just like, what just happened? It looks outstanding. You pick the area, so good guys versus bad guys, SWAT trying to come in and take out the criminals that have the hostage. In the gameplay footage that we saw, they were picking how they wanted to enter the building. They chose to grapple down from the ceiling. They could have chose from enter from the garage, try and come in the front, or come in from across the street. They come down, one person runs across the street, gets up on a neighbor's house, and sets up a sniper post over there. Awesome. In the meantime, everyone inside is setting up barricades over the windows, over the doors. People that drop in on the ceiling, get the little cameras in there, the little drone rolls around, searches the buildings, figure out what's going on, they kill it. They come in, use that strategery. Say 3, 2, 1, all coming through the doors, and it just turns into controlled chaos.
Absolutely.
It was outstanding.
I think that's the coolest thing that all the Rainbow Six games have had. The funnest part of any Rainbow Six was rappelling, inverted, and then sitting there while your guy's like, wait. Alright, go. And then you take out the first guy, and then everyone brings in. Like,
I have to disagree a little. That was really cool. We had that in Siphon Filter, Silent Scope.
There's a whole bunch of games that have done it. I mean, it's the same kind of thing.
My favorite thing about Rainbow Six was always the multiplayer. It was always multiplayer doing missions, and that's kind of what we have here, but you're playing against other people, which is the best opponent, because it can think.
Of course.
And it just, oh my god, it looks so cool. I want to see more of this game. My pick for best game at E3.
I think it's the coolest one. It's the most shocking for sure. A lot of the other things we expected, but they were very refreshing, they were very new, they were all super cool, but this one was by far the most shocking. Mm-hmm. I think this strategic part is the coolest part in there. I think
it reminds me a lot of playing a MOBA. Like, you're completely reliant on the person next to you. You can play with one other person and be okay, because you have this one other person that you can keep that constant communication with, but if you have a team of 5, you're going to work people.
Exactly.
So I'm really excited to see what happens. That was Ubisoft conference. You can watch our previous videos, annotation down below, to see those, and we're going to finish up E3 with the last couple conferences. Thank you, Christian. Have a good one.